So you're building with AI, and you've probably hit that one big question. How in the world do you run these massive, powerful open-source models without having to buy your own supercomputer? Well, today, we're going to break down the top 5 API providers that solve that exact problem. Let's dive in.
You know, open-source models have totally changed the game. Suddenly, we all have access to incredible AI without being locked into one company. But all that freedom, it comes with a kind of hidden price tag. So is this amazing AI really free?
All right, so here's our plan. We'll kick things off with the big trade-off in open-source AI, and then we'll meet our 5 contenders. We're going to see how they stack up on speed, then responsiveness, and then on enterprise-grade features. And finally, we'll put it all together to help you find your perfect match.
Okay, let's get right into it. First up, the central challenge. Because with all the incredible power you get from these open-source models, there's a pretty significant problem that every single developer has to figure out.
So here's the deal, right? On one hand, you get complete control. You can run these amazing models all by yourself, but the catch? Oh, it is a big one. The hardware. We're talking something like 500 gigabytes of GPU RAM, not to mention the best CPUs and tons of system memory. I mean, for most of us, that's just not going to happen.
So what's the solution? How do you get all that power without all the pain? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Specialized API providers. They handle all that crazy hardware, and you just pay for what you use. It's really the best of both worlds.
And that, my friends, brings us to the main event. It's time to meet the contenders. We're going to dig into the top players in this space: Cerebras, Fireworks AI, Grok, Together.ai, and Clarify. Each one has a totally unique strength, so let's see how they stack up.
We're going to start with pure raw speed. Think of this as the drag racing category. If your app needs to chew through a massive amount of information really fast, what we call high throughput, then this is the provider you absolutely need to know about.
Say hello to Cerebras. Now, their approach here is, well, it's pretty wild. Instead of stringing together a bunch of different GPUs, they just built one giant chip. Seriously, it's the size of a dinner plate. By doing this, they get rid of all the communication delays between chips, and the result is just absolutely blistering speed.
And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. For a huge model like GPT-OSS 120B, Cerebras is clocking in nearly 3,000 tokens per second. That is just an incredible amount of processing power. It's a true speed demon.
So, when would you actually hire Cerebras for your project? Well, you bring them in for the big jobs. Think high-traffic platforms, really complex AI agent workflows, or anything that just needs to do a ton of heavy thinking fast. If throughput is your #1 non-negotiable priority, Cerebras is your champion.
Okay, so raw speed is one thing, but what about that feeling of real-time interaction? Now we're shifting to latency. That's the time it takes for the model to even start talking back. For anything like a chatbot, this is everything. It's what makes the conversation feel snappy and real.
Our first contender in this category is Fireworks AI, and their entire platform is basically optimized for one thing and one thing only, getting you the lowest possible latency for a super smooth and responsive user experience.
And this chart just says it all. When you look at the time to first token, how fast you get that very first piece of the answer, Fireworks AI is on top at just 0.17 seconds. Now that might sound like a tiny margin, but in a real-time app, you can feel those milliseconds. They make all the difference.
So yeah, if your job is to build an AI assistant that feels like it's right there with you, no lag, no awkward pauses, Fireworks AI is a fantastic candidate. They're absolutely laser-focused on that critical first impression speed.
But they've got some very stiff competition from Grok. Now, just like Cerebras, Grok decided to build its own custom hardware. They created something called a Language Processing Unit, or LPU. It's a chip that was designed from the ground up specifically to make AI inference fast and predictable.
This custom hardware makes Grok perfect for the most demanding real-time jobs out there. We're talking things like live streaming captions, coding co-pilots that suggest code as you type, or AI agents that need to make a bunch of decisions in a split second. When every single millisecond is on the line, Grok's LPU is built to deliver.
All right, but not every application is a speed race, right? For a lot of production systems, the real name of the game is balance. You're trying to find that sweet spot between good performance, a reasonable cost, and just rock-solid reliability. So let's look at the providers who really nail that. First up here is Together.ai.
I kind of think of them as the reliable workhorse of the bunch. They're built on more traditional, scalable GPU infrastructure, and because of that, they're widely trusted for just being consistent and predictable when you're live in production.
And the key here is really that balance. Together.ai is for those teams who just need a dependable, all-around solution that simply works. You get strong performance, you know it's going to scale, and you get it all without the premium cost of that super specialized hardware.
And our final contender is Clarify, and they bring a really unique enterprise focus to the table. Their platform is more of an orchestrator. It allows big companies to manage and deploy models across all kinds of different environments. Public cloud, private cloud, even on their own machines, all from one central place.
But what's really interesting here is their efficiency. Because they're so good at managing all these resources, Clarify can deliver amazing performance at an incredibly competitive price. I mean, look at that. Just 16 cents per million tokens. For large-scale workloads, that kind of cost efficiency is a game changer.
Okay, we've looked at raw speed, we've looked at low latency, and we've talked about that enterprise-grade balance, so now it's time to put it all together. Let's lay out all the data side by side so you can make the right call for your project.
And here it is, the whole picture. You can really see the different trade-offs so clearly, can't you? If you need maximum, face-melting speed, Cerebras your winner, but you'll pay a bit more. For that split-second low latency, Fireworks AI and Grok are neck and neck. And for a balanced, cost-effective, and reliable solution, Together AI and Clarify are fantastic choices. The perfect answer really does depend on what you're building.
So this all leaves us with one last, really big question to chew on. We're seeing all this new specialized hardware, Grok's LPUs, Cerebras' giant chips, and they're outperforming traditional GPUs on these very specific AI tasks. So you have to wonder, are we watching the beginning of the end for the GPU's total dominance in AI? It's a fascinating thing to think about as this whole space keeps evolving. Thanks for watching.